In the year 1938, Spain had been in civil war for 2 years. The Nazis supported the nationalists, while the Republicans were losing strength. In a village in the countryside, the inhabitants were celebrating a wedding when they were surprised by a caravan of vehicles commanded by a Nazi major. The family gives him a drink so strong that it irritates his throat and makes him cough, which provokes laughter from the inhabitants. Furious, the major orders his subordinates to shoot to kill everyone present at the party. Then the soldiers put on gas masks and throw cans of a mysterious blue powder that spreads throughout the city. At the same time, Captain Jan is about to be shot for headbutting a judge, but he is rescued at the last minute by his high-ranking uncle, General Lozano. Then, Lozano says in his office that Jan needs to deliver a letter to a place called Alarcos if he wants to regain the army's trust. As it's on the other side of enemy territory, it's very risky work, so it was offered as an option, if not the death penalty. Jan has no other option but to accept the mission, and since he doesn't know how to drive, an imprisoned boy named De Cruz will be his driver. He is also suffering a punishment because he escaped during combat and is now considered a coward. When they leave, Jan meets a soldier friend who recently lost his hand, so he shares a cigarette with him before being taken to a German train with a strange symbol commanded by the Nazi major. Hey! The movie I'm going to summarize is called Bastardo Z, in English Valley of the Dead. It's a zombie movie with action, suspense, and comedy. If you like this style, leave a like, and if you don't like it, comment. But I recommend staying until the end because the movie is good. After a few hours of travel, Jan and De Cruz encounter the road blocked by German soldiers. Jan forces the leader to clear the way for them with his weapon, while observing that the Germans are surrounding the region with barbed wire. Soon after, they hear the noise of planes flying over them, and Jan uses a mirror to see the combat. One of the planes crashes near them, but the pilot manages to save himself with a parachute before splattering on the ground, so Jan orders De Cruz to stop the car to help the pilot, who is their ally. The two follow through the woods, and upon seeing pieces of plane with the same mark as the Nazi train, they find the pilot hanging from a tree. The man didn't survive the fall and lost both legs. Suddenly, they're surprised by a band of enemy soldiers commanded by the sergeant, who quickly takes Jan and De Cruz's weapons. Jan tricks the sergeant to get close to him by saying he knows something and attacks him with a headbutt, but Matacura stops him with a kick and points her knife at him. The sergeant doesn't let her execute him because he might be a useful prisoner, and when they search his clothes, they find the mission envelope. But inside it, there's only a message that states, "War is won with bravery." Irritated, the sergeant orders Fuse to shoot De Cruz, and when he picks up the gun, De Cruz wets himself. Finally, the sergeant decides to keep both as captives, and the group gets ready to leave. The photographer takes time to photograph the hanging corpse, but suddenly the pilot resurrects as a zombie and jumps on the soldier to kill him with a fierce bite. Brodsky goes to help his friend by throwing the zombie away and gets his hands dirty with a strange blue powder. The zombie doesn't stop moving, so Brodsky shoots, but his shots don't do anything. Only after the sergeant hits the zombie's head does it fall dead. The group is perplexed and questions if the pilot was infected, but soon after their friend who died also gets up and attacks. Brodsky holds him by the throat and spins him before throwing him to the ground. But they are horrified to see that their friend is still breathing. The political commissar finishes him with a shot to the head to make sure he doesn't get up again. After seeing more planes in the sky, the group ties Jan and De Cruz's hands and takes them to their camp. When they arrive, they are shocked to see that it was invaded, and Brodsky finds the same blue powder. Matacura's finds the body of a fellow warrior whose injuries begin to change until she awakens as a zombie. Jan looks around and notices that all the dead are moving, so the group retreats. But one of the rookie soldiers sees his transformed father and runs to him, only to be quickly devoured by zombies. As soon as the creatures approach, the group shoots, aiming at their heads, so that the bullets are effective. But they are in large numbers, so the group flees to the seashore and escapes in a vessel. The zombies pursue them, but don't advance much. Then, the sergeant finally releases De Cruz and Jan's ropes, but before that, he gives him a punch to settle the score. Due to the extraordinary situation, they agree to cooperate for now, despite being on opposite sides. Finally, they reach another shore, and after camouflaging the boat with several branches, enter the woods, where they encounter more zombies. The group is attacked by people who seem normal, but are infected. John receives a weapon from Matakuras to protect himself, while Brodsky tries to save DeCruz from the zombies, but they throw themselves on him. Brodsky kills some zombies, but one of them sinks its teeth into his leg and immobilizes him, while others surround him and devour him. Matakuras thinks about helping him, but Jan stops her, as it's useless. They see their friend become food and move forward until at night they reach a safe place. Inside, they come face to face with 3 armed people: Lieutenant Jarrell, Soldier Rafir, and Sister Flor. The group also takes their weapons and a fight begins, but they soon realize they're in the same boat, fleeing from zombies, and decide to unite. They stay in the protected house, and Flor treats the sergeant's wound. At dinner, DeCruz recognizes that Fuse is a renowned cyclist who gave him an autograph when he was little, but Fuse doesn't admit it. Jarrell makes jokes with Matakuras, so to get rid of him, she talks about the terrible things she did to the priest who molested her younger sister, hence the name Matakuras. The commissar finds an isolated corner and shows he has a phone, which he uses to make an enigmatic call in secrecy. At the same time, Jan uses the letter to light his cigarette, and the heat makes a hidden message appear on the paper. It's a map of the entire region, but he keeps it to himself for now. Later, he also tries to flirt with Matakuras, but she dismisses him too, and notices that his hands aren't worn by work or fighting, which makes him admit he's just a lawyer. At the end of the night, they hear a suffering wolf howl and see through the window a zombie getting close to the house. Rafir shoots it and eliminates it right away, but then a crowd appears and heads to the house as well. The group grabs their things to flee, but the zombies reach the windows and grab Matakuras, who quickly breaks free using her knife. They are also forcing the door, so they block it with a heavy box and leave through the back door. When the zombies break down the door and invade, Fuse activates dynamites and throws them at them before leaving, exploding the house with all the zombies inside. After walking through the woods for a few hours, the group encounters electric fences with several zombies trapped in them. John shoots Brodsky in the head, one of the zombies who got electrocuted. Then he reveals the map to the others, which is written in German. The Nazis seem to be aware of the zombie crowds emerging from the valley and estimated the time and direction they would follow, so they built fences to prevent their advance. The group deduces that the Nazis must have been the creators of the zombies through some experiment. As they are trapped in the fenced region, the only option is to go to the point indicated by an X on the map to discover what is happening. Soon after, they arrive at the village they saw at the beginning, but find no living soul, only a ruined celebration covered in blue powder. While DeCruz is busy repairing a truck, Matakuras observes lights in the church, and then they decide to enter, only to encounter a very frightening laboratory. Among all the blood-stained instruments, there is a container with the same symbol as the train. Suddenly they hear a noise and see a woman emerging from a hiding place. It's Anna, the bride from the party. She tells that when the Nazis shot, she was protected by her husband who fell on top of her. Then they threw the blue powder, and Anna took advantage of the confusion to hide. Soon she heard the dead moving again, and the Nazis laughing while watching from afar. Occasionally, they would take some zombies and bring them to the church, where they set up a laboratory to test them. Suddenly, there was an explosion, and the blue powder began to disperse, and then there were Nazi zombies too. Escape was impossible for the rare survivors. The commissar takes advantage of the group being distracted by the story and takes all the experiment documents. Soon after, they hear the noise of the car, but the commissar prevents them from leaving with his weapon. He admits that he took the blue powder recipe and intends to use it to win the war, but that he won't take anyone who is from the other side. His team doesn't accept, and the sergeant confronts him, but DeCruz arrives at that moment, and the commissar kidnaps him. With him as protection, the commissar walks slowly out of the church and then throws DeCruz to his team. But before he can shoot, a crowd of zombies attacks him and devours him. Without wasting time, Flor locks the door and says she knows the way through the church. Then she leads them to the back, where a secret underground passage is hidden by another door. While the group advances through the passage, Anna becomes a zombie and attacks Jarrell. The others push her away from him, and in the middle of the fight, Anna sinks her teeth into Rafir's foot. He repels her with a kick, and while Jor-El immobilizes her, Matakuras shoots her in the head. Rafir's foot has a red mark, so the others force him to remove his shoe and sock to check if the skin wasn't pierced by Anna's teeth. His luck that it wasn't. At that moment, they hear the zombies approaching, so they continue running and reach a gate, which they break down to exit. After everyone is outside, Flor closes it again from inside as she confesses that she was bitten. Before leaving, the sergeant gives her more ammunition, and Flor faces the zombies with her weapon. De Cruz runs back to the city in search of the truck, while Jan suggests going to the Nazi base where he spotted the train with the same mark as the boxes in the church. John believes they have a cure, and faced with the others' refusal to invade hostile territory, John makes an emotional appeal about how the zombie virus will also affect the innocent. At this point, De Cruz returns with the truck, hiding the bite he suffered. Everyone agrees to accompany John, and they reach the base the next day. With the group hidden, John risks going to the entrance and barely avoids getting shot by a guard. As soon as Lozano and the Major appear, they say they know everything that happened because of the Commissar's phone call, so Lozano lets John in because he's his relative, but bars the rest of the group. He also says that the chiefs will bomb the place soon, but Jan doesn't accept abandoning anyone and returns to his team. Lozano tries to delay the bombing because of his nephew, but the Major shoots him to prevent it. Meanwhile, the group doesn't want to leave without causing some trouble first. So De Cruz tells that he was attacked by a zombie that was in the truck and offers to take an explosive to the gates. Before going, Fuse admits that he remembers the day he gave him an autograph. De Cruz gets close to the gates with a grenade in his hand, but is shot by the guards. He turns into a zombie right away and starts moving forward with the grenade in his hand, with the guards shooting at him. Raffer tries to provide some support with his precise aim, but De Cruz takes a headshot anyway. When he falls, the grenade rolls and detonates the entrance gate. The group enters and sees that the zombies are approaching. They run and pass through a tunnel where they quickly eliminate some guards before continuing. Then they reach the train, where everyone is getting ready to leave the post before the bombing begins. John wants to find the antidote, but Fuse and Jor-El don't care about saving the world and infiltrate the crowd, wanting to escape. Meanwhile, the zombies also emerge in the tunnel, and the Nazis have to face them, so the rest of the group goes deeper inside. A zombie reaches them and tries to bite, but is taken down by Rafir, who climbed the train roof. The place turned into a horrible carnage, so Raffer opts to stay on the train to provide cover while Jan, the sergeant, and Matakuras advance. They also encounter more zombies, so they shoot at whoever crosses their path. Nearby, Jor-El is also shooting at the undead and soon runs out of bullets, so he considers fighting with his hands. Another zombie grabs Rafir, who was shooting to help him. Jor-El gets terrified and takes refuge in a truck, where Fuse also enters. They talk about their wives they lost, and see through the rearview mirror that the truck is full of explosives. Jor-El uses his cigarette to light the dynamite that Fuse had stored, and they explode in a big fireball, taking several zombies with them. The trio reaches the train car with the symbol, and the sergeant goes after the locomotive to drive the train. John and Matakuras stay to find the antidote. They come face to face with the Major, who just injected himself. John thinks he used the antidote, but the Major says there isn't any. He proudly confesses that he was the inventor of the powder and gets excited when his form begins to change, but Matakuras doesn't hesitate and shoots him in the head. Soon after, the zombies try to break down the door and John backs away, but comes face to face with a chained zombie behind a curtain that bites his hand. Quickly, Matakuras kills the zombie and cuts off John's hand to prevent him from becoming one of them. When it falls to the ground, the hand transforms. The zombies then manage to invade through the door and enter, and John and Matakuras hide inside a small compartment. In the cabin, the sergeant makes the train move, but is soon surrounded by zombies. After eliminating some, he uses the final bullet to commit and not become a zombie too. As soon as the train exits the tunnel, a fleet of planes attacks the region, eliminating all the zombies while Jan and Matakuras exchange a kiss. Soon after, Rafir wakes up and is startled to see that the train managed to get out unharmed from the zone. Jan and Matakuras are also alive because of the compartment's armor. Finally, they get off the train and Jan invites Matakuras to accompany him, but she refuses and decides to go to France. When leaving, she doesn't reveal her name to Jan. On the train, a fallen soldier's hand moves, suggesting that the virus would spread throughout the world and there would be a continuation. So that's it. Leave a like and comment what you thought of the movie. Don't forget to activate the bell. In the first pinned comment, I'll leave a playlist of the best zombie movies. Check it out there.